Hello everyone, I'm Cherise Rochelle. Welcome back to Beloved. What do you do when you see the same wounds you've been healing from repeating in your family? Maybe you've done the work, you've prayed, journaled, set boundaries, and started walking in your worth. But then you look around and you see your father, your brothers, your sisters, maybe even your nieces and nephews trapped in the same emotional patterns that you've been fighting to break. How do you hold that tension, the ache of recognition, without falling into despair, judgment, or control? How do you keep your heart soft when it feels like the cycle is continuing right before your eyes? Continuing from the last episode, which was remaining soft when we're surrounded by people, family members who still do not change. Today's episode looks at our role when we recognize that generational patterns are continuing. See, healing doesn't just open your eyes to your own patterns, it also opens your eyes to your families. And when you begin to see clearly, it can be both liberating and heartbreaking. You may see your father still ruled by pride or silence. You may see your mother still trying to earn love through service or perfection. You may see your siblings struggling with emotional distance, control, or people pleasing. And maybe you realize this wound didn't start with you, and it doesn't end with you unless someone chooses differently. But how do you respond when God shows you these patterns? What's your role in that generational story, and what's His? Let's walk through this together. So first off is recognizing the pattern. Before healing, dysfunction feels normal. It's just how we are. But after healing, dysfunction becomes visible, and it can be painful to witness. You might notice a brother who mirrors your father's anger or control, a sister who repeats your mother's self-erasure and guilt, a nephew who grows up distant because affection feels unsafe, a niece who overachieves hoping to be seen and loved, or even yourself, still triggered by the same dynamics, just in a subtler way. These are not random. They're spiritual, emotional, and learned patterns passed down through generations. Exodus chapter 34 verse 7 reminds us that the effects of sin can ripple down to the third and fourth generation. But Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 9 reminds us that God's love and mercy reach 1,000 generations of those who love Him. What runs in your family may have run its course with you. God doesn't show you the cycle to shame you. He shows you so that you can stand in the gap. So how do father wounds continue across generations? Father wounds don't just echo in behavior, they echo in identity. And they manifest differently, though equally painfully, across genders. In sons, it often shows up as a need to dominate or control, mirroring the father's model of power, avoidance of emotional vulnerability, that is, believing that emotions equal weakness, over-identifying with work or status, which is seeking worth through performance, while in daughters, it may look like people-pleasing or compliance to earn love, difficulty saying no or setting boundaries, attracting emotionally unavailable partners, creating the familiar, or tying worth to being the good girl or being the caretaker. Both are rooted in the same wound, a distorted view of love and identity. The son thinks that love is control, the daughter thinks that love is compliance. Both are wrong, and both need healing that begins in the presence of God. Romans chapter 8 verse 15 says, "You did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption as sons and daughters, by whom we cry, Abba, Father." This is something that can be very hurtful to see, especially when you've prayed, you've healed, you've grown, but the people that you love aren't ready or willing to change. You might feel frustrated. Why can't they just see it? You might feel burdened. Maybe I'm supposed to fix it. You might feel helpless. It's too deep to undo. You might even feel angry at God. Why do you show me these things if I can't change it? But beloved, here's the truth. Seeing isn't the same as saving. God shows you that you can intercede, not interfere. Your role is to pray, to model, and to love with boundaries, not to rescue. Change belongs to God. Conviction belongs to the Holy Spirit. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 says, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then will I hear from heaven and heal their land." You can pray for the land of your family, but you cannot force the harvest. Here's how to remain soft and guard your heart against bitterness. When we see unhealed behavior repeating, it's easy to grow resentful, especially when it affects people that we love. But bitterness, if left unchecked, becomes its own generational inheritance. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 15 says, "See to it that no root of bitterness grows up to cause trouble and defile many." Forgiveness is not about ignoring what's happening. It's refusing to let their wound reopen yours. Staying soft does not mean staying silent or staying close. It means staying aligned with God's character instead of being shaped by someone else's dysfunction. You can love your family without living in their cycle. Let's look at breaking the patterns through intercession. When you see the pattern, that is your invitation to pray differently. You're not just praying for healing, you're praying for deliverance. Pray that the men in your family rediscover tenderness, not just authority. Pray that the women rediscover self-worth, not just self-sacrifice. Pray that the future generations know love without fear. Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 30 says, "I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap, but I found no one." When you pray, you stand in the gap. And when you choose differently, you build the wall. The cycle breaks when one person says, "It may have started with them, but it ends with me." Here are the reflection and journaling prompts from today's episode. What recurring family patterns have you begun to notice since healing? How do you see it manifest differently in men and in women in your family? Where have you felt tempted to step into God's role of fixer? And how can you intercede while maintaining peace and boundaries? Today's affirmation is, I am not responsible for carrying or correcting my family's patterns. I am called to heal, to stand in the gap, and to trust God's timing for transformation. The cycle may have started before me, but it ends with me. And we're going to close on this verse from Psalm chapter 103 verse 17, which says, "But from everlasting to everlasting, the Lord's love is with those who fear him, and his righteousness with their children's children." God's mercy is the inheritance that you're leaving behind. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Beloved. I hope that it was helpful and that you feel encouraged. And if you believe that it would be helpful to someone else, please feel free to share it with them. Or if you know of anyone who might be watching a cycle and wondering what to do next. And if you want, feel free to subscribe on Substack for the written versions of each episode, where you can easily find all of the reflections and the affirmations and the prompts, the journaling prompts. And just remember, you may have inherited pain, but you also inherited purpose, and you can be the one who changes the story. Until next time, stay rooted in truth, wrapped in grace, and always remember, you are beloved.